Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Occult Perspectives. Hope you're doing really well. This video, I wanted to cover angels and archangels. So that will be the topic of this video, which is something I'm pretty passionate about, especially, with exercises like the LBRP. We work pretty closely with the archangels, and we feel their positive influences on our lives, bringing peace and prosperity. So, one of the guys, he's a brother Mason actually. His videos are what originally inspired me to start this YouTube channel, and I believe his channel is called Esoteric Freemasonry Unveiled. I haven't seen anything come from his channel in about a year. But I hope he picks back up, where he left off. And the other, crucial player in a lot of my research right now, and the one who's really inspiring me a lot is Damien Echols. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I think that's how you say his name. From the videos that I've watched, his YouTube channel is wonderful. Really great stuff. The dude really knows what he's talking about. This is his book called High Magic. I'm just going to go over some notes that I wrote. I kind of wrote some notes, some of the more important key things for my book that I'm writing, because it's about the difference between Freemasonry and high magic or ceremonial high magic. Kind of where they're similar, where they're not really the same thing. Freemasonry is more of a ritual or ceremonial tradition that's been done over and over, whereas Damien Echols is talking about the true art of high magic comes from ancient Sumer, actually. So it's a set of practices that originate from there that help us transcend the wheel of samsara, I believe it's called, or the wheel of incarnation. I'm not really going to dig into this book, but I will go ahead and read some of the notes that I took from it. And then I believe this is his first book. I think maybe him and his wife had written a book together before that. But this is the second one, Angels and Archangels, and it was actually the first one that I got, and then I borrowed the other one from a friend. And I've read them both at this point. Actually, I have not read all of High Magic. I'm pretty far into it, as you can see. I just have a little bit left. But a lot of that's preliminary information that we've kind of talked about on here, but it's always good to review. And Damien has a set of energy practices and rituals, which are great, prerequisite stuff before even getting into the lesser banishing ritual, the pentagram, and the middle pillar. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into it. Damien's definition of magic is a path of transformation and evolution with its own set of practices and a long, complicated history. High magic, a combination of visualization, breath work, energy manipulation, etc. Low magic, and I use quotes in low magic because it's not lower, even though it works more in the physical plane. It's not any less, genuine or real, but it's not part of that original set of exercises. The ancient Sumerian high magic tradition, it's not necessarily a part of that. It's different stuff. Low magic uses inherent natural energies of particular objects, such as herbs, stones, crystals, etc. The purposes are for I'm sorry, the way I wrote this in, I lumped it all together in my notes, so it was kind of confusing. The purposes for high magic is, rather than physical manifestation, is spiritual growth, energetic practices. It includes all these things, ceremonies, rituals, invocations, evocations, etc., but it's mostly for spiritual sustenance. Rather than manifesting things. But when you do work with ceremonies that are about, inner transmutation. It's going to still reflect in your outer experience as well. It's going to change your experience and make it into a more purified form. But it's all about union with Source when we're working with high magic. Theurgy is aligning ourselves with Source to become more like it, or more like God, essentially. It's about self-improvement, reaching nirvana, enlightenment, or the gates of heaven, etc. It's referred to as many different things. Theurgy means refining your energy until everything that vibrates at a lower frequency gradually fades away until you re-enter the state of your original condition, the state before the fall, which is what's, high magic seems to fall into. It's that process, of that rising back up again through the spheres of existence, through the tree of life. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right. Thaumaturgy? I'm going to go back just a little bit. Oh, this is the wrong book. The other book I have over here. And we will get to angels very soon. I just wanted to go over this stuff real quick. It should not take too long. If I can find, that word. Thaumaturgy, Thaumaturgy. So it's a little bit than theurgy, a little different than theurgy. Means refining, it's practical magic, which is about improving your life on the material plane. The physical level of reality, though, is no less sacred. That important point is noted. The primary reason of magic, the Golden Dawn says, is to become more than human. This kind of resonates with the in Masonry. They have a new theme that's called, and a lot of they're trying to promote the fraternity more. And one of their slogans is not just a man, but a Mason. More than a man, a man who's working on himself, trying to improve himself. It's the same idea with ceremonial magic, and the Golden Dawn says to become more than human. It's kind of the same general theme, becoming a better version of yourself. I wrote that there is a cool quote about black magic, page 7 in the middle of the page. There's that. And I keep putting high magic away because I didn't think I was actually going to have to refer back to it. So I may take a break from these notes in high magic and jump straight into angels and archangels. That way we can start talking about the angels, because that's what I originally intended this video for. It always takes me a little longer than I plan on, getting the information out. I just want to make sure I'm going through, in a linear fashion in my notes and covering everything. Some people would say that black magic is anything that attempts to influence other people, but that's a tricky distinction. If that's how we define it, then we're all expert practitioners of black magic, parents attempting to get their children to go to bed on time, spouses trying to win the argument, every advertisement for the latest car, movie, or fashion craze. I would definitely say that kind of falls into some weird magic sometimes, though, just depending on the motives of the company. Persuading others is just a part of life, but that doesn't make us mages in the black arts. And then if I go up just a little bit more, a lot of reasons for doing magic are clearly black, say causing pointless harm on innocent people, but most acts of magic are somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, say gathering together enough money to pay the rent or finally gaining a romantic partner. That would technically fall under the jurisdiction of gray magic, as we have talked about before. This is just a really cool note. It seems like pretty basic information, but Damien says, keep this in mind when you're doing your pentagrams, drawing your pentagrams. When you invoke a pentagram, what you're actually doing is magnetizing your own aura in order to attract whatever you want to manifest. So that's really cool. And that would be particularly true in the case of an invoking pentagram, for the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. And when you're banishing, you'd be pushing things away. You're keeping your space safe and sacred. I think I'm on like my third cup of coffee today. I'm sorry if you guys can't hear me in the videos. I've been trying to get like closer to the camera and not speak too softly, but it feels unnatural to talk a whole lot louder than this. Plus, I'm trying to conserve my voice for the whole video, 30 minutes or whatever it ends up being. Okay, so now I'm going to jump to Damien Echols' Angels and Archangels. So there's two reasons we invoke angels and archangels: material manifestation, as we were talking about before, and spiritual sustenance. There's kind of this division between these two, one not truly being superior to the other, but for those truly on the path, spiritual sustenance and union with the divine is what it's truly all about. The difference between these is straightforward, as we said before. When you're invoking energy for manifestation, you invoke the energy into the ritual space and then direct it towards like a talisman. So it fulfills its function on the material plane. Okay, I'm going to try to find the part where it starts talking about the angels again, because that's what I want to stick to for this video. The ultimate goal of working with angels, however, is to become one ourselves. A friend once told me that's what people actually are, unconscious angels. As we work with the intelligences we call angels, we gradually align our will with the universal will, moving in greater harmony with the source of all creation and assisting in the spiritual evolution of all humanity. So to go against this current, it's like kind of like trying to swim in a river that's flowing the opposite way. You're going against the current. I think that's one of the real lessons in the story of like Lucifer or Satan. If we view him as the devil, or the one that's rebellious or whatever, had to be better than the ultimate source. I see it as more of a story of just this unwarranted pride, like, not going with the flow. So what it does is it ends up destroying him. He gets cast symbolically, or however literal it is. I'm not going to get into that in this video, but into the lake of fire. It seems like if we don't figure out how these different spheres of existence work and manifest and try to align ourselves as best we can with the higher realms, then we kind of fall into, like a pit or something sort of like that in a way, whether that be, that's more like metaphorical or symbolical, I would say. Here's a note on conscious evolution. Magic is the art and practice of conscious evolution. If the source that spawned human consciousness, what some call God, is like an apple tree, we are the fruit of that tree. Most of the apples fall to the ground, decompose into the soil, and provide energy that further sustains this tree. But some apples take root and become trees themselves. This is the purpose of working with angels and archangels, to stimulate and foster this type of evolution. And this is what empowers us to help other people do the same. So the great work. Very cool. He's also talking about the way that we begin the crystallization process of our aura, our auric body or energetic body. The way we begin the process is by banishing and invoking, which both involve archangels and angels. He's making mention to Enoch here, the prophet, which ascends to heaven to walk with God, which some say is the Archangel Metatron. And the prophet Elijah is said to have traveled to heaven as well in a chariot made of fire. There's other stories from other traditions. Here, I'll go ahead and read it. Tibetan Buddhism is full of tales of practitioners attaining the rainbow body, or an indestructible energetic body that allows us to approach the highest levels of divinity and the path to becoming a never know how to pronounce this word. Bodhisattva. Essentially, an archangel is clearly laid out in that tradition. Becoming enlightened is just another part of the journey. The end goal has always been to help others. He has a section here where he talks about the will. Aligning yourself with the ultimate will. will lead to the most direct path to discovering your wills to connect with your higher self. In magic, it's called the Holy Guardian Angel. And that comes at a certain part along the path. That's when that process starts to happen. I'm not an expert on that topic. I would say there's times in my life where I felt so in tune with a higher version of myself. I felt really like on my path. There's these long segments of where I'm really, doing what it is I love, and I'm really consciously, fully putting my effort into what it is that I want to do, my will. And I feel like the Holy Guardian Angel has been always ever working in my life, but has a full activation of that come into my life yet? I'm not sure. I'm still not, super knowledgeable on that subject. And Damien says he only knows, like a handful of people, like 10 people or so, that have truly come into the knowledge and the conversation with their Holy Guardian Angel. So that's that's a topic we can save for later, once I've done some more, research on that, and then furthered my practices to a point where I'm coming into union with that force, He talks about the ego in here. When we practice magic, what we're essentially doing is rising on the planes of existence toward a level already embodied by angels and archangels. That's not our experience on the lower end of the spectrum, the existence on Earth, where we're typically identified with an extremely limited small self, the ego. David Icke refers to this as the ego identification, that people get caught up in not what they actually are at their core, but like their occupation. It's like, no, you're not a doctor, you're not a lawyer, you're not a technician. You may be those things, that may be what you do for, currency. But you are infinite consciousness having a physical, or infinite awareness having a physical experience, who is playing the part of that role, The ego gets in the way. It's a primary obstacle to discovering our will, fulfilling it, and awakening, to our true nature. The ego did not have the same name in times before. Was viewed as an external detrimental force. This is why magic was so devoted to binding and banishing demons. Interesting. The ego is somewhat demonic in that it operates like a symbiotic or parasitic entity that only exists on the lower planes. Very true. I can attest to that. In a lot of ways, it is like it likes to feed, and the more you feed it, it's that whole wolf parable, Is it the wolf of righteousness, love, and compassion that's going to win, or the wolf of ferociousness and appetite and destruction and war? It's the wolf that you feed, is what you learn at the end of that story. Ego isn't a solid thing, but an organism of multiple layers and levels, some incredibly dense. Yeah, we're not going to talk about this too much, because I'm still trying to get to the talking about the angels. There's also a section on crossing the abyss here, which is like a whole subject in and of itself. I'm going to go ahead and skip that, because that would take a while to explain that. We're just going to stick on there. I do see the word archangel here, though. We'll see what it is. Needless to say, all of this work comes way before we can cross the abyss. So daily practice, of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, etc., is the equivalent of showering yourself off and keeping yourself clean, like cleaning your body or house or car or anything else. You don't just do it once and call it good. Only by continually freeing yourself of this residue will you be able to get a clear view of your true nature and that of others. This is also what we do for others by performing magic on their behalf. Needless to say, all of this work comes way before we can cross the abyss, and it's infinitely more efficient when we incorporate the beings I'm calling angels and archangels into our practice. Now we're actually going to get into the difference between angels and archangels. Angels are almost pure energy, whereas archangels are the powerful, intelligent forces that direct that energy. So the archangels are powerful, intelligent forces that direct the energy of the angels. When we talk about raw planetary energy of Jupiter, we're talking about angels. When we talk about the consciousness or intelligence governing that energy, we're talking about archangels. So the planets are equated to angels, and then the energy that moves them or governs the energy, the consciousness or intelligence governing that energy, is the archangels. Angels are everywhere. They're the very substance of which the cosmos is made. Archangels are essentially stars, just a couple of steps down from gods. And of course, we're familiar with in the Book of the Law by Aleister Crowley. I think it opens up by saying every man and woman is a star. That's a profound, that has profound significance. Archangels exist on the level of creation immediately above ours, which makes them relatively easy to contact. They're also incredibly willing to work with us if asked. Angels, not archangels, but just angels, are more like elementals, which are the salamanders for fire, gnomes for earth. I'm trying to remember, Unadine for the water, and it's the air one, sylphs. So angels are more like these elementals. They're powerful energies with just enough intelligence to perform as directed. This is why you have to give them specific instructions, because they will typically accomplish a given task in the easiest way possible, and they aren't capable of discerning between human concepts of right and wrong. For this reason, I highly recommend telling them to do their work in a way that harms none. That's also why magicians use archangels to guide and restrict angels to make sure that whatever magic they're doing with them manifests in beneficial ways. So the angels need to be, a little more, you need to be a little more specific when you're working with just the angels, but the archangels, their intelligence is more in alignment with, source. They're more powerful and understanding, and they are the intelligences which govern the energy of the angels themselves. So you kind of need them in a sense. Okay. I'll go ahead and make a side mention too real quick that if any of you watch anime, I highly recommend you watch Black Clover, because there's all kinds of Kabbalistic stuff in that. And the name of one of there's different groups of knights which help protect the kingdom. And one of the groups is called the Golden Dawn. So it fits right in with all this. And it also has the elementals. There's a salamander or a dragon, fire dragon, that one of the characters has, and then he has the spirit of air, like a fairy or a sylph. I think they actually refer to her as a sylph. So I think they'll probably have all four elementals at some point in the show. The spellings of archangels, they change from source to source. Over time, authors like Damien and others will be able to kind of condense them in a form that's a little more uniform. Some people get hung up on pronunciations. It's more about what connects you with the archangel, which pronunciation sounds correct to you when you're vibrating. I've been having to use the silent voice a lot, so I'm not actually physically vibrating. I'd like to get back out in the woods and physically, Raphael, real loud, and be able to actually resonate the energy in a verbal way, but I've been doing the voice like in my own psyche as loud as I can, projecting it out into the universe. So don't get caught up on pronunciations. As we've said before, it's more about the intent. The names aren't actually the names of specific entities in the same sense that humans use names. They're more like titles than anything else. The name Raphael translates into English as something like the healing of God. So when you say Raphael, you aren't necessarily calling upon a particular entity named Raphael, but rather invoking the healing power inherent in all divinity, calling upon a particular aspect of the all. There aren't actually winged creatures up there in the clouds somewhere who are going to get put out if you don't pronounce their names in just the right way. And that's something that you find with the characters in the Bible as well. If you can find out what the names of people mean in the Bible, it actually gives you a lot of insight as to the symbolism of what their character means in the portrayal of the whole story, you know. You'll often see that they're assigned male and female genders, the archangels and the angels. Gender is just another tool to assist you in your visualization work. These intelligences, these angels are clearly not traditionally male or female because energy is essentially neither at its core. That being said, we am cultured to consider some manifestations of energy as feminine and some as masculine. And I think that the problems that come with that can be acknowledged while still using those associations to our benefit. It's also just shorthand for talking about polarities, you know, yin and yang and different degrees of existence. Feel free to play with the genders as you see fit. You know, if you're a female practitioner, you may want to envision all the archangels as being female. You know, I never really thought about that before, but for you, that might be what's most powerful. That might be what resonates for you. For me personally, I see Raphael as male, you know, very, very masculine. I see Michael as very masculine. Gabriel, I used to see as still like a masculine or a male figure, but I'm starting to resonate with Gabriel more as a female archangel. Very feminine, and, you know, they're actually not, you know, a particular gender, as we were just saying, but I definitely envision more the feminine energy. Almost like a blonde hair, too, is what I typically tend to see with Gabriel when I'm envisioning, you know, the water and everything else. And we'll get into correspondences for each angel here very soon. I kind of lost my spot there for a second. I got so caught up. Oh. Raphael and Michael being very masculine, Gabriel being feminine, and Uriel, or Uriel. Usually I pronounce Oriel. I used to vibrate the name Oriel, but I don't. I say it Oriel now because that's what some others have recommended, and that seems to resonate a lot better. And I see Oriel is still like masculine, you know, but with very feminine features. It's still a man, you know, a man. It's still male, but with very feminine features, very green and forest oriented, you know. Often sometimes envision like animals along with Oriel by Oriel's side. You can envision either the chaff of wheat, he carries like a thing of wheat, or what's the word, a pentacle as well, if you can envision that. And we'll get into more correspondences here very soon. Let's see what else he has to say before we actually move on to the archangels of the elements, which is the ones that I just went over. Yeah, here we say archangels Michael and Raphael, as we were just saying, are masculine, whereas Gabriel is feminine, and Uriel embodies both genders equally. Okay, that's kind of interesting. That's what I was just saying. Then you'll find other presentations that assert that all of them are masculine except for Gabriel. He finds the latter attributions to be more helpful in my own visualizations, but as elsewhere, he said, do what works best for you. Whatever it takes to envision them more clearly, don't get hung up on the details that have very little to do with these particular manifestations of the divine. Let's see if there's anything really important here that I need to read. Just envisioning the archangels in different ways. Like, I think for our psyches, at least I was raised kind of Christian. I went to church. So the traditional, like, image of an angel a thing with wings and often like pretty muscular, a lot of them have six packs or whatever. But that image, that prototypic image or archetypal image that we're familiar with is very powerful for us because that's what our subconscious was raised with. In the, in the Eastern world, or, angels were depicted, more like this in ancient Sumer. So this is more along the lines of what an actual angel was originally depicted as, So it's whatever works best for you. And it's the same as kind of the gender issue. These are visual details we've inherited that don't amount to much, and yet they run so deep in our psyches that they often come naturally to us whenever we want them to or not. Feel free to envision the angels and archangels in whatever way works best for you. Some people prefer the Lamasu iconography, which is what I just showed you. I'm pretty sure this is the Lamasu, and what's interesting about it, because it has the four animals combined, the bull, the lion, the man, and the eagle, and I see these envisioned separately with each archangel, and we'll get into that as we, and I've talked about it in videos before, when we're talking about, we might have been going over, what is that book called? Myth, Magic, and Masonry, and I'm trying to remember, Jamie Paul Lamb. That book's incredible. We'll get more into that book, I'm sure, at a later time. I want to get back into P.D. Newman's The Psychedelic Secret of Freemasonry too, Alchemically Stoned. Such interesting research. Okay. I think we're good to go on. I strongly believe that just about any angel or archangel can be invoked for any purpose, and that the primary difference arises in the way each manifests their response on the physical plane. Looking at the Tree of Life planetary energies, for example, if you wanted to invoke them for improved physical health, the energy of Mars might attack and destroy any problematic ailments, whereas the Archangel of the Sun would boost your vitality and ability to heal yourself. And the intelligences correlated to Saturn would simply work to banish any further detrimental factors to your physical health. Okay. Now we're at the Archangels of the Elements. The primary reason that we begin by working with this set of archangels is that they are the ones closest to us, or rather closest to the level of the material world in which we exist. That was the traditional explanation given to students of magic in the past couple of centuries, but I think that nowadays it is also helpful to think of them as representing different energies corresponding to aspects of the lower parts of our soul. By invoking them, we learn to balance ourselves on the most fundamental level, and anyone who spends just a few weeks doing so will notice positive changes in their lives. I think one of the interesting things to note, I just thought about, I'd never really thought about it in this way before, but if you watch Harry Potter, Voldemort separated his soul into like 7 different pieces, and they're contained within the Horcruxes. This is kind of the opposite. We're working on different parts of our soul, starting on the elemental level, that's the bottom, the Malkut or material plane level, and then ascending our way up is we're like fixing the pieces of our soul and working, going into them and transmuting it and ascending it. So it's kind of the opposite of the Horcrux process that Voldemort does. Some of the positive changes in your life that you get from the LBRP, especially, myself included, that's why I continue to do these practices, because I feel that they give me not only peace of mind, but also some energy and understanding that others just don't have. I feel like I'm kind of in this vibratory state that I'm in my own little world within everybody else's world, but I'm protected, because I'm continually working on merging my soul with my higher self, which is connected to the Almighty Source. And this the process of invoking the archangels all works towards that and working with these angels. Positive changes are a lesser tendency to control your surroundings or other people, more faith and self-confidence, a greater sense of well-being and peace, and various other benefits that come from living in the present moment. It's so important to live in the present moment. I could almost do a whole video about how important that is. And it's something that I've had to work on myself. And I think really just pursuing your true will and knowing why you're here and knowing that you are here for a reason, and you're always protected by Source so long as you seek to align yourself with good intentions, you know, and you really want to do this work and see what it's about and figure this soul journey out for yourself. You know, you'll be taken care of. You'll be good. You also find other uses for invoking the elemental archangels below. In part 2 of this book, you'll learn other ways of working with the energies, such as supplemental exercises to strengthen your ability to concentrate and invoke. Eventually, we'll get to the most effective ritual and magic that Damien knows of, the Shem operation, which that's really advanced. That's really kind of beyond anything that I'm, you know, working on myself right now. I'm in the learning process of all this stuff. As I've said before, you know, I'm just trying to bring this information together and share it with like-minded people. Okay, I think that pretty much covers. So now we can actually start on talking about the archangels. We'll start with Archangel Raphael, of course. The name means the healing of God. The Archangel of Air, of course, associated with the East because he's in the East. The season of spring. Air is connected with power and intellect. Raphael is also the Archangel of logic and reason. This is why during like the middle pillar exercise, when you vibrate, you know, in your heart center, this section right here, it's you've got the white light Ehe, Yod He Vav He Elohim Da here, and then Yod He Vav He Elohim at the throat, and then you vibrate Yod He Vav He Elohim Da at the chest area, and that means the mighty intelligent God, or something very similar to that. I think. Let's see. I did make a note of that in Donald Michael Craig's book. I just went ahead and wrote I had covered that in a prior video, the translations of all the vibrations on the middle pillar. If I can find it again. There it is. Yeah, Lord God of Knowledge. So that fits in with this whole theme of Raphael. The Archangel of Logic and Reason. Some books left out of the Bible present Raphael walking back roads and meeting with strangers. In one story, a traveler runs into Raphael and tells the Archangel that he's in love with a woman. But every time someone attempts to marry her, a demon interferes and kills the suitor. Interesting. He asks Raphael for help, and Raphael gives him the recipe for a special incense to make. If the man burns it near the woman, the demon will flee. It works, and the man and the woman are finally able to get married. That's pretty cool. That makes me think of a lot of the stuff I read, like in the 3 books of Solomon, the Goetia stuff, the Lesser Key, Greater Key, and Testament. Okay, so here's correspondences that go with Raphael. He has brilliant, radiant yellow robes. Excuse me. He holds a caduceus staff with 2 entwined snakes, which we know that symbol from like veterinary offices and other medical places. Anything associated with spring, for example, a damp, warm wind. Other correspondences, let's jump over to Modern Magic real quick. I did have the page saved with the archangels on it. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Here we go. Visualize a figure on a hill. In front of you, the figure is dressed in yellow robes, which have some purplish highlights. The figure carries a caduceus wand. Like we said before, Hermes used it. And Mercury, the figure's robes wave in the wind. You should feel the element of the air. You know, you feel the breeze coming from behind the figure. Say before me, Raphael. And as we said before, one of the, I think it's the tetramorph, the 4 animals of the tetramorph. It's the man that is associated with Raphael. So if you can imagine, and the man equates to Aquarius. I'm almost positive. It's different parts of the zodiac. So with Raphael, I've envisioned the Archangel Raphael, with his colors, his caduceus staff. You feel the air, you associate it with spring. You see the man, which is Aquarius. And I also try to envision the upper triangle with the line through it. That's the elemental symbol for air. So if you can visualize all of this somewhat at once, that's Raphael. I do also have a computer with me, and I did bring up some pictures that when you type in Raphael, these come up. Of course, I don't know how well you can see that, but yeah, some of these are really green, robes instead of yellow. Gosh, I feel like that's not able to, maybe you can see that a little bit. Try to get the camera closer. Hopefully I can get it back to where it was. Yeah, some of these are like, I see red robes in there, and that makes me think more of like Michael rather than Raphael. It's hard to find like accurate pictures of the archangels, but if you type, you go into Google, and you should be able to find some images that will help you visualize the archangels better. And I actually have a friend who's a really great painter, and hopefully she'll be able to start for me soon a painting of the, it'll at least have the 4 archangels, the elemental 4 archangels in it: Raphael, Gabriel, Oriel, and Michael. But I'll try to get some other archangels in there as well. Reasons for invoking Raphael: to better articulate your ideas, for safe passage, for healing of any sort, assistance with meditation and mental clarity, and to enhance the intellect and learn the deeper truths of philosophical and spiritual teachings. Okay, so we've already reached 42 minutes. I'm not going to be able to get too much into a lot of the other angels yet, maybe 1 or 2 more. So this will probably be a continued series. I think I will still include this in the ceremonial magic playlist, though. I'm probably not going to create a separate playlist just for these angel videos. But I hope you enjoy so far, and I'll continue to dig into this, because this is a very important part of the research, which constitutes what I'm writing about in my book. And that's what this YouTube channel is all about. And that's why I decided to name the book Occult Perspectives on Freemasonry and Ceremonial Magic, kind of using my YouTube channel as, the title of this book as well. So let's move on to Archangel Gabriel. Gabriel is the archangel of waters we know, and the direction of the west. She is most associated with autumn, love, and our subconscious mind. That's why I feel so much love when I really do when I've invoked, or I guess evocation. I know that there's a big difference between invocation and evocation. I feel like Damien's been saying invocation of these archangels, though, throughout this book. But typically when we're doing like the LBRP and stuff like that, we are evoking. We're not invoking. We're calling the angels forth. I don't know. I thought he said invoking. There are times where you probably will invoke archangels. Anyway, yeah, he has said invoking archangels. But when we do the LBRP and the LIRP, we are evoking them, not invoking them. I'm calling them forth. But they're still forces that exist within ourselves, so I get kind of confused about that whole concept sometimes. Back to Gabriel. Sorry, I got sidetracked. That's just something that confuses me from time to time. But when I evoke Archangel Gabriel in all four directions. And even above and below, I get such a feeling of love and peace. So I really resonate with that for Archangel Gabriel. Her domain is the most occluded part of our psyche, where intuition, emotions, and dreams come from. This corresponds to Yesod on the Tree of Life, foundation. In the biblical story of the Annunciation, it's Gabriel who tells Mary that she will give birth to the Christ. For this reason, Gabriel always comes to mind in the late fall as Christmas approaches. Interesting, because when I was on death row, I used to eagerly count down to Christmas, focusing on pleasant childhood memories from his grandmother's homemade sugar cookies, for example, instead of the garbage that he had to eat in prison, Damien says. When I could visualize those memories clearly enough, it worked like a life preserver, and for a while I could forget about the people who were trying to kill me. And this way, Gabriel helped me keep me sane when I was in hell. So Gabriel is a very powerful angel. I'm going to grab, actually, a biblical dictionary book I have. I want to use it for the Bible videos. It's really cool. It's this old, falling apart book, but it's called Bible Dictionary. Let's look up what the word Gabriel actually means. I'm almost there. Gabriel, man of God, is actually what it means, apparently. Interesting. An angel sent by God to announce to Zacharias the birth of John the Baptist and to Mary the birth of Christ, so both of them. He was also sent to Daniel to explain his visions. So, man of God. Okay. That's a cool, insightful note. Okay, keys to visualizing Gabriel. So these are correspondences. Blue robes holds a chalice, with, basically a cup. And it's the same symbolism as the tarot, except for Raphael holds a caduceus wand, but the suit for air in tarot is swords, and it's cups or chalices for water. Anything associated with autumn, cool air, the smell of fallen leaves, etc. Let's hop on over to Donald Michael Craig and see what he says about Gabriel. A figure standing behind you dressed in blue with some orange highlights. The figure holds a cup in the form of a chalice encrusted with gems and is surrounded by waterfalls. Try to feel the moisture in the air. Say, behind me, Gabriel. That's how he has a pronunciation in here, which I say Gabriel. I actually say Gabriel if I'm really vibrating it. Gabriel. That sounds the most powerful to me. Okay. And some other correspondences. Of course, as with Raphael, that the downward pointing triangle for Gabriel, which is the element of water. I try to envision, the Archangel Gabriel surrounded by waterfalls or other bodies of water, holding the chalice, has the blue robes with the orange highlights, the smell of fall, and then also the animal associated with Gabriel is the phoenix. So for Raphael, it was the man of Aquarius, and for Gabriel, it is the phoenix, which is another version of the sign Scorpio, which is why I have another such profound, deep connection with the Archangel Gabriel, I feel like, because I'm Scorpio myself, which is a water sign. I know in other times the phoenix is sometimes depicted as an eagle as well, and that's kind of what's happened with the American eagle. The real symbol of America is the phoenix, not the eagle, but somehow it got kind of changed to that. I'm not sure why. They wanted to base it off of like a bird that's still around, I guess. Okay. So, what are we at? 49 minutes and 55 seconds. Yeah, I'll go ahead and end the video here. I did kind of want to cover Michael, but we'll do Michael and Oriel in the next video. I don't think there was any last minute stuff I wanted to cover real quick. I will go ahead and show you guys over here. I've got Isis, of course, and Osiris, and I have my 4 wands that I use for, of course, Raphael, the purple. He has the purple highlights in his robe. The red wand is Michael, blue Gabriel, and green Oriel. And then I think I've shown you in videos before, but just in case, here's Thoth. He's standing there, and my fiance made this for me. It's the chakra system made with stones. Got serpentine there in the middle, some tiger's eye. Amethyst is up there at the top. Looks like some kind of turquoise, maybe. I'm trying to remember, but yep, there's Thoth. And then here's all our stones and such. So got a lot going on up there. The infamous bookshelf, as you know. This is not the same bookshelf I had at the other house, but it's a smaller one that was downstairs, and it fits most of the books on the shelf that I need it to. So, all right, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I will try to get another video up as soon as I can. I'm actually going to go work on some music this afternoon. I didn't really necessarily plan on doing a video today, but it all worked out. I did my exercises this morning and felt inspired to do one of these videos and talk about angels and archangels, so I think it went really well. I'm excited to continue this journey with all of you. If you like these videos, please subscribe, ring the little bell for new notifications. Have a wonderful day. Whatever day it is, wherever you are, whatever time it is, we are in the infinite now, and we are doing this. We are manifesting heaven on earth. Peace and love, everybody. Take care.